Welcome back, everybody. Brian Schwager here, founder of Wellness Movement Services, where I teach you how to feel and move well, empowering my clients with knowledge, raising the veil of deception, getting at the truth, focusing on the root cause of your wellness and movement challenges. And today we move on to episode 4. Remember, this is all about the next evolution in the wellness and movement industry. We left off talking about focusing on treating the cause of disease and not the symptom. I made a change in the format. I want to get on with this information and get to the next part. This information that I'm leaving you with and the links that I had left you in episode 3 are sufficient. Now you understand how we can use frequencies and that the body is bioelectric. And we're going to get right into that now today. I shared with you about the terrain theory. And it's not even a theory, to be honest with you. The terrain is everything. The germ is nothing. To quote Dr. Claude Bernard. Just as a reminder, what we're talking about when it comes to terrain is this here. Simple, simple. Keep it simple, right? So here we have a dirty fish tank. Here we have a clean fish tank. This fish tank represents your body, your environment, which is made up of mostly water. And when your body is polluted, and you will grow, your body will morphogenically grow into a disease state. It was proven by Dr. Antoine Béchamp. And in another video I had in episode 3, where Dr. Robert Young was discussing this and had evidence to this as well. It's all about the terrain, people. If you have inflammation, you have to change your environment. If you have a disease process, changes have to be made in your lifestyle. There is no way around it. Going forward, that's why I created the 4 principles. That's why I chose to work and to help people using holistic principles. The only way around it is using a holistic approach and using holistic therapies. The human body is a cybernetic, bioelectric, magnetic organism. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The little image in the middle represents that each one of these principles intersect with the body, and when they're out of balance, they create a load. And when the load gets heavy, physiologically, there are many different kinds of stressors. There's emotional stress, there's biochemical stress, there's nutritional stress, there's physical stress, and there's electromagnetic stress. And there's a host of other stressors on the body, but when they accumulate, they create a sense of dis-ease and disharmony in the body. I just did a short video on this on my personal or my business Facebook page here in a conversation with one of my clients. Your loads here? During a coaching session.
Yes.
Had these loads. And all of these parts, all these principles, they load share. That's why I created this logo the way it is. Every principle shares responsibility within the human body. They all communicate, they all share their loads together. They share responsibility with one another. That's my whole thing about we got to work. The public has to learn that they have to deal with their body holistically. because every system is involved. Every system that's listed here shares responsibility with one another. That's also part of the load sharing. They communicate effectively to run the human body's organism. So if I take a cup and I keep pouring water into it, and I keep pouring it, what's going to happen to the water? It's going to overflow. And then it's going to be on the table, then it's going to be on the floor. So those other parts got affected by the overflow. So the energy comes down in the red, it infiltrates the body, and it raises the load. So the organs get affected and the tissues get affected. So like in this image here, brain, organs, tissues. So thoughts affect organs, organs affect tissues. And if you look at the second sentence here in this paragraph, the organ will dump the excess energy into the muscle it shares direct neurological relationship with. My job is to help my clients to mitigate these stresses so that the load comes down, which will increase our tolerance for exercise and decrease our chances of disease. So what we're talking about here is this terrain that gets out of balance and that we create our own illnesses. We are funding and creating our own illness because we are not knowledgeable on how the body works. Now, I'm not talking about you have to go out and learn exercise physiology and biochemistry. But we as practitioners need to do a better job teaching our patients and our clients the fundamentals of how the body works so that they can do a better job taking care of themselves. And obviously, we haven't done a really good job of that. Have we? All you have to do is look at the statistics and you can see what we are dealing with. It isn't working. These gentlemen and others have shown us the way, but they were suppressed. Those who do follow these principles have had success. But it's about education. It's about intelligence. It's about reading between the lines. You cannot catch a virus other than you can create a hospitable place for it to grow and manifest within the body. If you keep polluting the environment, if I kept garbage outside my house during a 90-degree hot summer, and I never had the garbage collected, what would I attract to the garbage? It's not that the rats would bring the garbage there. It's not that the bugs brought the garbage there. The garbage invited these rodents and bugs. And when we clean up the garbage, they have nowhere to eat. We are infiltrated with fungal and parasites. But what we can do today, like I said in episode 3, we can start eliminating that which no longer serves us, whether it be what we think, what we drink, and what we eat. We have to purify the body. So first we remove the negatives. We start removing that which no longer serves us. We mitigate our emotional stress. I teach my clients how to manage their minds. This image here represents that your brain is a CPU computer. Your whole body is a computer. The CPU is your brain, and it's far more efficient when it's working operatively than the fastest known computers on this planet. But yet nobody knows how it runs. HOW. How does it work? We lose sleep, and we are jeopardizing our recovery, but we take pills and vitamins and we still are covering up the cause, which is another thing about our industry, the wellness health fitness industry is we're still treating symptoms. Someone comes to me, I don't prescribe melatonin. I'm not against them taking melatonin if it's suggested by a naturopathic physician. But if they ask me what my thoughts are, Brian, I'm thinking about ordering melatonin. I said, well, before we do that, let's look at removing the negatives and finding out why you can't go to sleep until 2 in the morning, or why you're waking up between 2 and 6 a.m. without being able to fall back to sleep. Just taking a vitamin, I'm not even going to talk about drugs because we know that they're just masking the symptom, we're only treating the symptom. But just because you take something doesn't mean that you're eradicating, or I should say, treating the cause. I'm all about the root issue. Now, if you want to go to a naturopath or go to somebody and do something temporarily because you can't sleep, I get it. But we have to be honest with our clients and our patients and let them know that this is no way to really serve the body, because we're doing the same thing as medication. Here, just take this pill and you'll be able to sleep. Rather than, are you on the computer too late at night? Are you not managing your mind in the evening? Are you eating the wrong foods for your metabolic type? Are you full of toxins? And on and on and on. Removing the negatives and the whole food thing, well, that's out of hand. The first thing is digestion. Uncover the fact that most people, 80% of the population, suffer from an overgrowth of fungus and parasite infections. So the very first thing we got to clean up besides our mind is our gut. Because you could take all the melatonin, all the fancy vitamins, which 80% of them are synthetically made, and they have the wrong raw materials. But even if you took the best on earth, it's not going to be metabolized and digested and assimilated right, because the gut isn't working right. It affects your skeletal system. Nobody understands that. Even like when I talk about digestion, which is located here on this image, you look at the digestive system here under sympathetic stress. Does everybody understand what fight to flight is? Now, I'm getting somewhere with this whole terrain theory. We're going to move on beyond this, but let me make a point here. I have to make this point because people are still treating symptoms. I have lower back pain. I agree. However, you might have an organ-related issue which is affecting your tissue. You may have emotional stress which is affecting your tissues. It's a book that is required reading in the school that I go to. The Czech Institute requires that I read this book called The Body Keeps the Score. Our bodily sensing system provides crucial feedback on our moment-to-moment condition. Its constant hum communicates changes in our viscera. Where is our viscera? Here it is, the viscera, which is the sac where all your intestines are located. And in the muscles of our face, torso, and extremities that signal pain and comfort, as well as urges such as hunger and sexual arousal. Our body's sensing system provides crucial feedback. So our brain senses digestive disturbances and will give feedback to the muscular system so that we don't overload the organ, so the energy is displaced and shared by the tissue. Now, I talked about this in my short video on the one I just showed you. They call that load sharing. Again, our bodily sensing system provides crucial feedback on our moment-to-moment conditions. Load sharing, here's another example of that, load sharing. If energy going through an organ, think of caffeine and your adrenals. Where are your adrenals? They're located at the top of your kidneys. Is too high for optimal functioning, the organ overheats. The organ will dump the excess energy into the muscles it shares direct neurological relationship with first to save itself. So the brain will protect the organ and it will shunt the excess energy, will distribute the excess energy into the tissues that have a direct neurological relationship with them. So as an example, the psoas muscle here and here are neurologically linked to the adrenals. So when someone has chronically tight psoas, there is not only a mechanical reason why that is. So if you look at this person here with an excess curve in their back, they have tight psoas muscles. However, their psoas muscle could also be tight because they are experiencing high emotional stress, or their diet, hence the excessive caffeine, increases the tone of the muscle, susceptible to cramping, chronic pain, and injury, develop of soft tissue pathology such as trigger points. It inhibits joints and spinal stability. I deal with clients that have lower back pain, and they say to me, "Why does my back hurt?" And I say, "Well, you don't have a back problem or a back challenge, you have a body challenge. So if all I addressed was your back, I would be treating just the symptom and not getting to the cause of the challenge." Let me go on here. The brain is to consistently monitor and evaluate what is going on within and around us. These evaluations are transmitted by chemical messages in the bloodstream and electrical messages. Yes, so there's a mind-body connection. As Dr. Candace Pert discovered, as our feelings change, this mixture of peptides travels throughout your body and your brain, and they literally change the chemistry of every cell in your body. What are we talking about here? Changing the environment. I got off on a tangent because we were talking about food, then we were talking about digestion, and we were talking about load sharing. But going back to the food, we're talking about environment here. What are we putting in our bodies? There are thousands and thousands of chemicals in water and the food and in the air. Here are just a few that are found in your drinking water that you're either drinking or bathing in, so you got to get a filter. Then there is the polyfluoroalkyl substances, I think I'm pronouncing that right, PFAS, otherwise known as the forever chemicals. I recently watched a documentary called Growing Broke. I'll leave a link in the description. You need to watch that and learn more about this chemical. And the never-ending growing concern and questions that the public is asking about these chemtrails that have grown enormously over the last 2 decades. To learn more, just go to geoengineeringwatch.org. I'll have the link in the description of this video. We now have to clean our bodies 3 to 4 times a year. We should be doing a purification program. We should be purifying our mind, keeping our temple clean, and there's a process of elimination. First, you clean up the intestines, then you go after the liver, gallbladder, since those are very important organs, as indicated in this image on the right side underneath the right rib. The detoxification system. And then you go after parasites, and then you got to go after heavy metals. The terrain is everything. The fish tank, your body's an aquarium. And it's an aquarium, right? And what is water? Right? Lifestyle, right? What is water? Well, let me show you something here. It is a transducer of electricity. Water conducts electricity and is a transducer of energy from cell to cell. It's energized, ladies and gentlemen, if your minerals are in balance. If you have the right amount of trace minerals in your body, this is where we're going to be going. Your body is a cybernetic, bioelectric, magnetic, multi-dimensional system of system. It's an interconnected electrical unit, with the computer being the brain. Software is how I'm moving my arms. But in order to make that happen, there's an electrical charge happening. Going back to this image here, look at the electrical charges going on between these dendrites. Nerve transformation. The body's nervous system. Let's see what we can find here. Oh, let me just say something about that. Do not buy an Aura ring. I'll be getting into this. Do not buy that technology.
One of the things that makes the sense of touch so amazing is how it's actually multiple senses wrapped into one. If I take any given object around the studio here, I can detect the object's temperature, and I can run my fingers over it and pick up the shape. With a little more sensation, I can pick up.
See what he's saying? Sensation. We are full of sensors.
The finer details like texture and grit and how heavy it is or whether it's moving. Guys, it's tacos? It's tacos. The fact that I could figure that out with just my hands is kind of weird. The same tissue that senses hot and cold also senses pressure, texture, and even pain signals. And I could detect all of that totally independently from my other senses. If I had my eyes open and looked lovingly at the tacos, I'd get new information about them like color, but also solidify information like shape. All of the sensory information is possible because I have a nervous system, one of our most intricate bodily systems that also handles motor control, among other things. And this system is fast, with some nervous impulses traveling up to 120 meters a second, or over 260 miles an hour. That's literally faster than a race car.
So I hope that helps to drive home a little bit about what we're talking about when it comes to electricity. Thank you, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. But like I said, thanks to all of these adventurers in medicine and health, but the Medical Association discredits alternative medical doctors and holistic healing practices and their practitioners that encourage natural healing, going back to the Flexner report. Some of these holistic therapies include Reiki, Touch for Health, which I just had a session myself. Acupuncture, sessions of those. Light and sound therapies, I've had that. Reflexology, just to name a few. Even though these treatments have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and are well established and documented, the medical establishment is very skeptical of these holistic healing practices and their promotion of self-healing. We must realize that the body can heal itself. This is done by removing toxins and other impurities and feeding the body the right raw materials to heal. We must reduce mental, emotional, electromagnetic, and other stressors that drain the body's energy and lower immune function. Now, it's funny, talk about draining the body's energy. Technology is designed to do this. We're going to be getting into this. Now we move to the human body is made up of electrical magnetic energy. And I've said this once, and I'm going to say it 100 times. The more you repeat something, the more you learn it. I like to learn in layers, so I'm going to tell you again. Remember, the human body is a cybernetic, bioelectric magnetic organism, an integrated, multidimensional system of systems, fully capable of receiving and processing and transmitting information. At the deepest level, the body is made up of vibrating electromagnetic energy. Really? Is it? Oh, well, let's go back to this.
The diverse type of signaling is thanks in part to a long, spindly cell called the neuron that makes up the nervous system. So today, we'll talk about how the nervous system can transmit information so quickly, taking a closer look at the neuron and how scientists are getting closer to reconstructing the sense of touch in the lab.
So that answers the question that the body is electrical. It's a vibrational energy. What did Albert Einstein share with us here? So the future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. Remember the work of Royal Raymond Rife? So he saw these bacteria. Dr. Antoine Béchamp saw the morphogenesis. So it morphed into a bacteria. It can change back and forth. Interesting. So that's proven. And then Dr. Royal Raymond Rife neutralized that bacteria because the bacteria is vibrating at a certain frequency, and he uses a frequency to cancel it out. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. It's more than meets the eye. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean they don't exist. The average person rely on their senses to determine what is real. If they can't see, touch, taste, smell, or feel it, we tend not to believe it. I am referring to the vibrating energy frequencies that are in and all around the human body and living things. We are more than just our physical body. The human body is in fact an energy emitting field of light and electromagnetic energy. Although you can't see it with the human eye, it radiates all around you. Visually, the human eye can only see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum that exists in the space around every living thing, including the human body. So your phone emits electromagnetic energy. You don't see it because it's in that spectrum where you can't see it. And if I'm sitting at a table, at a dining table, having dinner with friends, and we all have our phones. Well, I never bring my phone to dinner. I think it's absurd that people would sit there and answer their phone when you should be enjoying dinner with your friends. But so someone's phone goes off, but mine doesn't. Well, that means that their code was activated, their node code, if you will. I don't know if that's accurate. And their phone goes off, but mine doesn't because it's not on my network. It's not my IP address, I guess you call it. But isn't it something that out of nowhere, the phone goes off? There are no wires like a standard phone plugs into the wall. At least you got an idea that the information runs across the wire and rings your phone. Remember the phones we used to have in our homes growing up? So how did that get there? How does this work? Well, some people have a pretty good idea now. And you notice I have I have these. I don't have earbuds. I'll get into that. There's a wire here. How does that work? Well, there's a frequency that transmits itself to that phone, but you can't see it because it's outside the spectrum.
Cybersecurity, as well as different components of consumer electronics products. Okay. And remember, when it comes to what we're talking about with the wireless and the electromagnetic spectrum, you only see visible light here. Infrared, microwave, radio wave, ultraviolet, all the rest, your eyeballs don't see it. You don't see the wireless. It's like optical, just these are wavelengths in the air that your eyeballs cannot see. Well, why is that? Because you only see 0.0035 of the visible light spectrum. So your microwave, in your kitchen, it's right here. You can't see the waves heating up your food, but that's with your eyeballs. You can still feel it. Some people can feel it.
And that which we cannot see is what we are now learning is harming us at a great level. We didn't know the extent of what cigarettes were doing until years and years and years later. This is what we're finding out about this spectrum that they've been harnessing and using as a way of getting inside our human body.
Systems they use all around us that they had no idea what was really going on, when in reality, we can only see a tiny bit of all the systems they use all around us all the time.
There. Visible light that you can see, right? You can see the visible light. Radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays. And now these frequencies you can't see. And then there are lights coming off of this computer. That's why I'm wearing these special glasses so that I don't get this blue light that affects my optic nerves, which then affect my brain, which then affect my chemistry. But I can't see that blue light coming off of either my phone or my computer. These frequencies mess with your body's bioelectricity. Now, a little bit, not a big deal. But again, when we look at, we're going to get into this here about the phones. Let's just say, well, a little bit of bad food isn't bad for you either. No, I mean, everybody's going to go off their eating plan a little bit. I believe in the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your time you eat organic, clean, God-given food. But 20% of the time, if you're in a healthy state, I will state this, but 20% of the time, I allow my clients to have a little bit of fun. So they have a little bit of alcohol, they have a little bit of sugar, they have a little bit of fried food and maybe some inorganic food. But they go right back on their plan. And most of the time, if they're my clients, we clean up afterwards. I may suggest that they do a water fast. So if they go to bed, let's say, they ended their weekend at 9 o'clock. So I say, well, when you get home after your weekend of fun or that evening, I want you to end your night with water, clean, purified water. Put a little pinch of sea salt in there, maybe a little bit of lemon. Drink that down the hatch, go to bed. You get up in the night and you pee, have some water right there, and then drink a little bit of water right after you get done urinating. And then when you get up in the morning, I want you to start with purified, preferably distilled water, but then add a little pinch of sea salt to that. And I want you to start out with 10 ounces of water, nothing else. So their last glass of water was at 9 p.m. And then if they could fast just on water, in other words, they may have water they get up there in the night to urinate, and then they have the water in the morning, and they don't eat until 8 or 9 o'clock. That gives them about between 10 to 12 hours of fasting and purifying, which is really good for your digestion and all your organs. What we're talking about is the exposure to the wrong elements. So we get overexposure to these frequencies and these ultraviolet lights and these blue lights and these microwaves. We're being bombarded every day, not even realizing it. I'm going to get into this, and you're going to be very surprised at how much exposure you really have. And within the over 50 trillion cells in the human body, there is an invisible force field emitting electrical energy waves. As Dr. Bruce Lipton says, every cell in your body is a battery. The cell in the body are like batteries because they contain mitochondria, which are the cell's energy generating centers. Let's look at this.
How the cells work, and you will have more knowledge than most doctors in the world today because they still believe in the genes. Every cell in your body has a minus voltage on the inside and positive voltage on the outside. Every cell, every live cell is a battery. Every cell has about 1.4 volts, not too much. 50 trillion cells in the body times 1.4 volts is 700 trillion volts of electricity in your body right now. And with training and meditation, you can focus this energy called chi, and you can use that energy for healing. With that much voltage, people can self-combust. Every function in your body is already present in every cell. So where you have an organ in your body, the cell has an organelle, which means miniature organ. So the textbooks talk about the nucleus is equal to the brain. The nucleus is not the brain. The nucleus is the gonad. The nucleus does not control the cell. The nucleus is reproduction of the parts. So if you are dead and you still have your protein body, what's missing? The signal. So when a signal binds to a protein, what happens to the protein? It moves. It makes behavior. If you are healthy, your behavior is good. But if you have a dis-ease, the behavior is not right. What can cause disease? There's only two things. Either the protein is bad or the signal is bad. People with bad proteins got them from birth defects. Because if you were born with defective genes and the genes make the protein, then the protein is defective. But less than 5% of the population has birth defects. That means 95% of the people should have a healthy, happy existence. But if you were one of the healthy people and now you are sick, what would cause the problem? There are only 3 ways to mess up the signal. 1, trauma. So if I fall off the stage and wrench my back, the signal is interfered with. Number 2, toxins. If the chemistry is not good inside the body, the signal cannot be passed through bad chemicals. Both of these interfere with the propagation of the signal. But the third one is thought, the mind. There's nothing wrong with the body. It's just sending the wrong signal at the wrong time. So if you change your thought and your mind, you can change the biology. And the mind is the primary cause of illness on our planet today. What is the name of the switch that controls your biology? Perception.
So what he's saying here is that the body is an electrical unit. Now, through epigenetics, like what he was saying about the thought, the perception, I'm really big on this because in my 4 principles, what's the first principle? Emotional health. It's the driver. It's the driver to everything, because when our perception is been distorted, it creates biochemical changes. So if someone is under high stress, they'll reach for the wrong food, they'll reach for the wrong drink. Hence, like he was saying, there's 3 things that control the epigenetics.
One, trauma. So if I fall off this
So whether we have physical trauma or emotional trauma,
stage and make my wrench my back, the signal is interfered with. Number 2, toxins. If the chemistry is not good inside the body, the signal cannot be passed.
so going back to the terrain theory. So when your terrain is toxic, you will grow disease. So emotional trauma, physical trauma, and biochemical imbalances, the toxins, and we haven't even talked about the electromagnetic frequencies that are also playing on this, but we'll get to that.
But the third one is thoughts.
So now we're moving into seeing how the body is bioelectric. But you see here the human body that's in the middle, everything is shared through this cybernetic, bioelectric, magnetic, multidimensional system of systems. And hence the bioelectricity, when we look at the brain, so we have the bioelectricity, and we look at the brain as the CPU, and we know that thoughts are things, as just explained here. So let me reiterate. So we have the 4 principles. Thoughts. We have emotional trauma, which could interfere with the bioelectrical activity in the body and which could cause us to have sleep disturbances, digestive disturbances, and create cravings. And we can have physical trauma, which disrupts the nerves. So I'm trying to create motion where there's tightness. I'm trying to create strength where there's weakness. Well, if the information can't get through to the muscle, how am I going to make that happen? That's why the phase 1 part of my program, you'll see in phase 1, it's restoration and reprogramming. I'm trying to get the communication back online. So we go back to someone who has low back pain. The muscles that stabilize their spine are not reflexing because the information's not getting from the motor control center of the brain down the spinal cord to these muscles because there's a disruption somewhere. There's a disruption because they have an injury. So maybe they have a pathology. So maybe they have a bulging disc. Maybe they have an instability. Maybe they have a tumor. But they have interference also because they have distortions to their posture. They have movement restrictions. They have degenerations in joints. They have imbalances. All of this is cutting back on the signals. And what else do they have? They have the toxins, which are affecting the organs and the tissues. You see how it's all connected. So as I'm going to stop here today we're going to go on to learn more about how the body is a battery. What I hope you can walk away with today is that as we migrate forward into the next episode, now we're getting into what the crux of what I'm going to be talking about here, and how that the medical system and agencies like that are now infiltrating your bioelectrical body. So not only are we concerned about what we're thinking, what we're drinking, what we're eating, but they're using these frequencies for ill-gotten gains. Where Dr. Will Raymond Rife was using frequencies to cure cancer, you can also use frequencies to cause it. We must harness natural ways to heal the body. But you, those who are watching this, have a right to know this. Empowering you with information. Namaste to all of you. Be well. I'll see you in episode 5. Bye for now.